Hey, how's it going? I just want to do a video on Reddit. So I use Reddit quite a bit just to get some sense of what people are going through. I consider this really the only sort of pure news out there. I'm not saying, that there's nothing, online or otherwise that is useful and all that. There's quite a bit. But to me, this sites like this, aside from just the trolls and the fake posts, I guess, for just, boredom or automated or whatever. These are, especially the unemployed section, you get real stories of what people are going through. And so just a couple articles that I want to talk about quickly. This is insane. Further proof that, the system we live in is absolutely unsustainable. And not just that, it's just ridiculous. But so this person posts something. This company is making me so mad. They send me a test, then a rejection the day after, and they still want me to do the test. So, you can see that, these large companies, first of all, they're disorganized. And in this case, it's just evil. Like they really just the interview process, the whole, way that, people are getting jobs and, if they do, the amount of time it takes and the amount of leverage that these large companies have, it's a lot, and it's scary to think that, we all are just accepting this, and obviously I feel like there's a end game for this, and you can check out my channel for more details on the mark of the beast. But this is that's like outlandish, that this is going unchecked, and you would need a zombified masses to make this kind of thing happen. Here's another very interesting point that I've made in other videos that's like happening in real life. And this person is saying so many people lie in their interviews. And it's like, not sure if this is a surprise to anyone. It certainly came as a surprise to me. And basically in this post, they're saying that, I had dreaded group interviews and noticed a guy I used to work with indirectly. This guy claimed he worked with aircraft. In reality, all he was doing was loading baggage. There are other stories too I have, but just a heads up for anyone that didn't know. Personally, I hate self-praise and talking about myself and how I am the perfect candidate, but sadly, this is needed. So this is a very powerful point, in my opinion, and this one post is supportive of this, and I know that this is not conclusive or exhaustive, but you basically have to lie to survive. You have to lie to people around you. I had to lie growing up. My family was Hindu, and I obviously, don't believe in that now more than ever. So I had to kind of play along and kind of, I guess, be stupid on purpose, I guess, or whatever, to not offend anybody. Here you have to explicitly lie. You have to boast about yourself, and all this. And this person, who knows if they have a religious background or not. So let's just use an example. I don't know this person or anything. But, let's say this is just a non-religious person who's experiencing the world from a, non-spiritual vantage point. This would be somebody who has some sense of what's right, and self-praise and talking about myself, stories. Tell me your 5-year plan. What are your goals? What can you offer? This and that. That's satanic to do that, to get a job, a slave role. You're basically lying to get a job, on a plantation, to be a slave. So you're lying to be enslaved. So this whole system is completely evil. That's why the Hebrews, anybody, or not just the Hebrews, but anybody who push obeying the law and then they caveat it with to the best of their abilities, that's just a cop-out. It's like there is no best of our abilities. Everybody is forced to lie to live in this system right now. And there's no one else to blame but God. We have to give credit where credit is due. God has made this system. He has made it a requirement to basically be a sellout, a liar, a cheater, a boaster, whatever, and even if you're not those things and you're part of the system, quote unquote, purely, our taxes and whatever we're contributing are being funded for evil. And ultimately, we feel for a righteous purpose. But, this whole system would require God's people to acknowledge the fact that you have to sin to be alive. And even if there's one person that God cares about, their opinion of how they don't want to live and sin at the same time, in my opinion, the end would have to come shortly thereafter, if not immediately then. So this is on Reddit, coming from a person who is experiencing life, and you do not hear this, if at all, from the prophets, because the implications are severe. You have to survive. To survive, you have to break the law. You have to basically sin to be alive. And we have biblical examples of how Jesus Christ or Yahushua says it's better to enter the kingdom lame, without an eye, without an arm, and all that, than to sin. And we don't hear those verses. And that's a problem. And so, I think as God's people start waking up, but like really, really waking up to the fact that, again, you have to sin to stay alive, and that is not something that we would think logically, even if we didn't even have many, many, many Bible verses to show that. This is not something that God would want, once we realize this, once people who actually don't want to sin recognize this, that you do absolutely have to lie in order to survive, and not just survive, not just to function, but even just to survive in this society. You cannot get a job without being a self-boaster, a promoter. You can't get promotions and stuff without being like a sellout, even if it's very subtle or very obvious. And you have to be ready to be intellectually constipated, in my opinion, in particular in America. So, this is the state of the world that we live in. Reddit, to me, especially the unemployed section, is a very good way to find out what's really, really going on in the economy. Obviously, like Zero Hedge and all these other kind of places are very accurate, in my opinion, and on it. They obviously don't know the deep, deep, deep workings of the scheme, but